Hello, welcome to the last video for the personal project report criterions. In this video we're going to take a look at the level descriptor for criterion D, the reflection. The three strands that the IB is looking for in your reflection are here along the top. Number one, evaluating the quality of the product or outcome you created against the criterion that you set. Number two, reflecting on how completing the project has extended your knowledge and understanding of the topic and the global context. And number three, reflecting on your development as an IB learner through the project. You'll notice here at the bottom that the way that we get this score is mainly by looking at your report. We might look at the bibliography to see if you were a thinker or if you use the IB learner profile, but mainly this is going to come from your written or spoken reflection. So make sure that all the information that we would need to know that you did these things is available in your report. Let's take a look at each strand. Number one, evaluating the product against the criterion that you set. This is why it's so important to have a clear goal and why it's so important to set those criteria as early as possible so that when you get done, you can go back and reflect on them. Notice here that it says all stated criteria. So make sure that any criteria that you set up for yourself in Part B that you also discuss here in the reflection in Part D. Number two, strand number two, is that the reflection includes a discussion of what you learned and of what you learned about the global context. So you picked a topic that you were interested in, and then you did some research on it. Hopefully that you were able to learn something about the topic. Hopefully your experience was able to teach you something about the issue that you were interested in. Now that might be something academic, like I learned a specific fact, or it might be something more experiential or real world, like I learned how this type of organization works or how this process exists in the real world. So whatever you learned, you should be able to discuss it using meaningful examples, detailed descriptions, and insightful explanations. In other words, I can tell you that I learned a lot about the Russian ballet by reading information on the internet, but if I don't give you any evidence of that, if I don't tell you some things that I learned, you're going to question whether or not I'm really an expert on Russian ballet. Give us that information as readers so that we know some of the things that you learned. You don't have to include everything that you learned, or you don't have to write a whole essay about the topic, but give some meaningful examples, detailed descriptions, and insightful explanations of what it is that you're able to learn about the topic. Secondly, you should also, still here in strand 2, you should be talking about the global context. So in part A, investigating, you picked out a global context that you thought was most appropriate for your project. Make sure you refer back to that big idea of the MYP and why other people should care about this topic as much as you do. The third strand is to reflect on your development as an IB learner throughout the project. Now, you may not have been at an IB MYP school your entire MYP career from grades 6 through 10. If you were at ASF the whole time, then you were, and hopefully you've seen some of these words before. If you haven't, I've put a link on Moodle to this document right here, this image right here, which is the IB learner profile. You should talk about how you were able to demonstrate these skills through your project. You do not need to talk about all 10 of them, please. You should pick one or two that you believe you are able to show or demonstrate clearly through your personal project, and again using meaningful examples, detailed descriptions, and insightful explanations. You can tell us about how you were an inquirer throughout this process, or how you demonstrated the skill or the value of being open-minded and caring. So these are the IB learner profile terms that you'll want to use in the report so that we really clearly see and understand that you were able to demonstrate these kinds of values and to meet the IB mission statement. So this kind of information, this information should help you to get a pretty good score on this particular strand. So again, in the reflection, we would be looking at these three things. Number one, evaluating the quality of your report against the criterion that you set. Number two, reflect on what you learned about the topic and the global context. And finally, to reflect on your development as an IB learner. If we see all three of those in the reflection, which this should be one of the longer sections of the report, then you'll definitely be able to get enough marks to meet or exceed the standard. Thank you very much. This concludes the video reflections on each of the 4 strands or 4 criteria of the personal project report, and I hope that they've been helpful. Thank you.